Well, welcome to Black Men Speak, a podcast that highlights ordinary Black men doing extraordinary things. I am your host, Keith Dent. What happens when life and death occupy the same space? When you're grieving the loss of your father while celebrating the birth of your son? For today's guest, that wasn't just a philosophical question, it was his reality. Bryce Savoy is an Oakland-born artist, entrepreneur, and now filmmaker who turned the most transformative 10 months of his life into art. His documentary, Big Bryce Son, and the music that accompanies it don't just tell a story about loss. They're about legacy, about what we inherit from our fathers when we passed to our sons. From founding Neighborhood Diamonds, a movement dedicated to finding brilliance in overlooked places, to co-running a nonprofit and a family business. Bryce embodies what it means to refuse to be confined to one lane. His father, Big Bryce, taught him that everything you want in life is right for the taking. Now, as a new father, navigating grief, health challenges, and an evolving career, Bryce is proving that lesson true. So in today's episode, we're sitting down with him to talk about fatherhood across generations, turning pain into purpose, and why he's committed to just keep shining no matter what. So Bryce, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Keith. Appreciate it. It's an honor.
Good. I'm glad that you're here today. I'm a little envious because you got on a nice t-shirt on that West Coast, and we're here on the East Coast. Chilly. It's a little rather chilly, but it's all good.
Yeah.
So I was so glad when I was able to connect to you about your documentary because you're exploring your experience of losing your dad, becoming a dad yourself within about 10 months.
Yeah.
So what was the decision-making process like to document such an intensely personal and vulnerable time on your life and put it on camera?
Yeah. First and foremost, my artistry has always been a safe space for me. Like whenever I've gone through anything in life, I've always been able to use my music and my art as a way to process, as a way to understand and, work through whatever I may be going through. And so with that in mind, I going through this, which was, the most toughest time of my life that I haven't, I've experienced death and, people losing like key family members throughout my life, but obviously never a parent. And so when I was going through all of this, I knew in the midst of my grief that there was a story here, and I consider myself, I am a storyteller at heart. Like with everything that I do throughout my career, that's always been centered at the center of everything. And so I knew, just like everything else I've been through, going to my music, but more importantly with, this documentary, which was my first entry into making films, it would, unpack and in some ways answer a lot of questions that I had just on the journey as to why this was going on, why I was experiencing it. And I think instead of getting so much caught up in the why, I knew that by me sharing openly, a lot of people could relate to it and a lot of people could just understand who I am and my story a little bit more. So that was like the thought process, behind creating the film.
Okay. That's great. And I guess in the documentary, you said that you realize how much life and death occupy the same space.
Yeah.
Especially after your father's passing. And then, of course, the birth of your son, Zimri. Is that how it's pronounced? Zimri?
Zimri, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how has that realization kind of shaped the way you're approaching fatherhood and the legacy that you want to create, not only just for him, but, any future children and just your family going forward?
I think most importantly, everything just feels urgent. Everything that I'm doing, not that it didn't before, not that what I've done in the past doesn't matter, because it does. It all got me to this point. But I think with experience in both life and death in that same year, it's like the complete opposite emotions in terms of, your tragedy, then the purest joy. And so kind of like the best way I could be present and make space for both of those experiences. It just reaffirmed that sense of urgency and reaffirmed the importance of, you know, chasing your dreams, doing what you feel compelled to do, investing in others, and ultimately just, you know, putting your best foot forward and putting the best version of yourself out into the universe, and then you let the chips fall where they may. And so when it comes to that, it was just like, all right, this is where in a lot of ways I realized that my father, he was my definitely the rock and foundation of my life and the cornerstone of my life, and just having that safety net, if you will, to fall back on whenever, you know, things got tough. And in a lot of ways, I felt by him passing away, that was like ripped right in front of me. And it's like, if you anybody like follows basketball, I'm a basketball, you know, lover at heart. It's like when somebody's guarding you in the post and you pull the chair, you kind of just move and they fall. It's like, it was like that same feeling. So I was like, all right, instead of me falling, this is my time to kind of show up and stand up tall and, you know, my best foot forward. And really, in a lot of ways, that happening, I think, and I'm still in the midst of it, is bringing out the best of me. And I think that was always there, but sometimes you need a little push, and that's what this was for. And then, so when it comes to that and being a father, it's like, oh, I already have a blueprint and foundation to follow from not only my father, but my grandfather as well. Like they set the tone. So all I have to do now is, obviously, it's me. So I'm taking my approach, but the lessons and everything was already there. I just didn't know that. I just didn't realize that until it happened.
Okay. And just earlier you said sense of urgency. So was there added pressure that you took on? And how did that feel?
It's funny you said that. I was even thinking about that right before this interview, like just the idea of pressure, because, you know, that's like my brand, Neighborhood Diamonds, and everything that I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Centered around that. And so, yeah, I 100% say that it's always going to be pressure, right? Because you're being put in positions that you didn't I'm gonna say you didn't want, but you didn't foresee. Like I could have never imagined that my life in the last 2 years would pan out this way. Like it would happen this way. However, with the pressure, you know, that's where you see, you know, your best art. You know, either it's only two things that's gonna happen. Either I would let the pressure cause me to crumble, or I would let the pressure cause me to rise and shine. And I take pride in just being resilient and using these circumstances or seeing them as positives, even though they're, you know, on a surface level, like losing your father, that's a horrible thing to have to experience, right? But there's so much beauty in it. And I think my goal and my gift and my focus is always trying to find the beauty in whatever I go through, even if it doesn't feel good or it doesn't feel comfortable. It's like, how can what is the lesson? What's the beauty? What's the gem in this? And I use that. And that's been allowed me to, you know, make it this far, to be honest.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's fantastic. So yeah, let's go back to your father, because he was very influential in the making of your documentary. So based on the way you laid it out, which was great, because you could see the bond that you guys had, especially in the beginning. But then it took a turn. But you didn't. What I was wondering, you know, his passing, was that a sudden thing?
Yeah.
And was he seemed like maybe the type of man that didn't show pain or illness in his life until it was too late. So is that kind of what transpired? And what was your, you know, kind of emotions around that?
Yeah. To be fully transparent, it was like a freak accident. I won't go into too many detail, just out of you know, my family and stuff. But yeah, like, you know, I get a call the day after Christmas, I believe, that he's in the hospital. And you know, at that point, you know, you're thinking, okay, he'll pull through. But as the days progressed, he just got, you know, progressively worse. And New Year's Day, I woke up, he passed away. So it was very sudden, very just never, like, no signs that I had to say this would happen, or that his health was, compromised in this way. And so very, very tragic. And what was the other part of your question? Because you said like,
yeah, what kind of emotions
oh,
kind
that's
of
what,
came around that? Because I mean, I love the fact that you almost had a transformation. He was in your life, but he would almost either travel or it wasn't kind of it was a sporadic thing. But when you moved, you were able to have more of him.
literally.
And it was almost so he helped answer some of those questions that you might have had, in your life, or at least getting more clarity on things.
Yeah.
But then it kind of, like you said, the chair was pulled out from you. So, what emotions, came from that?
First and foremost, confusion, right? Of course, sadness, of course, anger, of course, resentment, of course, all of those things came at once. It's hitting me all at once because there's one hand on a logical standpoint, a practical, you're trying to figure out, what's happening. Doctors are saying things I don't really understand. I don't have that level of expertise to understand it, but I'm also seeing him. And one thing I can say, like, I think it was like maybe 2 days after he was in the ICU, I seen him in the swelling that was, on his body and face because of his organs, which wasn't working and not flushing properly. Something told me like, yeah, this is not going to end well. Because I've been in those positions with family members,
right?
So I knew that death was coming. I don't think at that point I wanted to accept it per se, but I kind of knew it was going to like pan out that way. So just feeling like, man, just feeling cheated out of life, feeling like, why did this have to happen? Why would God, do something like this? And like you said, I waited. I would say probably, I know both of us waited our whole lives to be together and have those bonding times. And like for context, just so the viewers and stuff, it's like my dad was always present, but obviously my mom and him not being together, he was in the Bay for about the first 10 years of my life. And then he got an opportunity to actually, I think, work for Magic Johnson Enterprises at the time. And that was something that he was really working towards for like a year straight. And it finally came through. And it was just an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. And so that's what sent him out here in LA, permanently until he passed away. And so you feel all those feelings of like neglect in a sense, because although he was, present and made his presence felt, wherever he was at, you still wonder like, damn, why wasn't my father, and not even the same household, but why can't I see him every day?
Right.
Why can't I go talk to him in person every single day? My mom obviously is here every single day living with her. And so to not get that from my dad, I did feel like abandoned. I did feel like neglected. And I think when he passed away, as great and strong as our bond that we were building for like the last 7 years, those feelings came up again. And I think I had to like, find ways to just talk about it, express it first and foremost, and navigate it. And I'm still navigating it, but I know that it's definitely softened since Zimri was born. But that's something that, I've always dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. But on another note, though, he really dropped some gems, and he really seemed like he would really share insights for you to kind of take on. And one thing you mentioned in the beginning was just a life right for the taking, and that you shouldn't restrict yourself to one lane. So can you share a specific moment kind of where you applied that wisdom to your music career, entrepreneurship, or just how you navigate your family?
Yeah, no, that's something that's always been pivotal. A moment I do remember, and it's funny, what sticks with you. I was at Howard, and it could have been like, I want to say it was either freshman or sophomore year. So I've been doing music the whole time, but specifically when I started at Howard in 2010, that's when I feel like for the first time took it seriously and felt like this is a path that I'm going to like see through. And so I had dropped a song. It's called A Way Out. And the premise of the song is, coming up from Oakland, coming from these environments, a lot of us feel like we don't have a way out. And my whole thing, from my experience and my vantage point from, being at Howard at that point in time, but also just growing up and always having these opportunities and resources to like see more than just Oakland. The purpose of the song was like, there's a way out of this, like these environments. If you have the vision, if you have the perseverance or whatever the case may be. And so I released that song, very positive song, and it actually it sampled Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues. So that's a time.
That's my man right there. So yeah, that's awesome.
So anyways, I released the song, and I don't know what propelled him to. And he's somebody that a man of few words, like my brother mentioned in the documentary. But when he spoke, it was powerful. And I remember just walking. I think I was walking in class or something, and I get a call from him, and he was wow. I had dropped the song, and he was like, I want to tell you, obviously, I love the song, and don't let anybody ever tell you what you can't do, and to keep striving, keep pushing forward. But I think it was because the song was positive, and I don't know I think we were having a conversation about just the perception of positive music and hip hop or something. And okay. That stuck with me because he was somebody. He said it. He was like, I spent a lot of my life not dreaming like I wanted to because of the fear of other people's opinions. And his whole thing was I think he's seen that for that first time, his son as a hip hop artist carving out a lane that is uncharted in a lot of ways. And he wanted to give me some reinforcement and encouragement. And that stuck with me. And I was, like I said, I was probably 18, 19. So definitely still early on in the journey, but it was those gems every so often. That's what made it, I think, so much more powerful and meaningful, because he didn't do that all of the time. But when he needed to, or when he felt compelled to, he would. And so that's just one of the memories that stick with me, because I think it was a pivotal turning point in my music career to say, this is what I'm going to present, for better or for worse.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. What you just said about him not being able to dream high enough or far enough. And I think that happens a lot in our community, especially our fathers who, I know that that was probably one of the things I didn't get to do, dream enough, because, you sometimes you put depending on who you are, put the weight of responsibility of your families more so than your own. And that gets overlooked a lot. And that's the fact that he was able to give that gem to you early, because I think you just have to give that as look, dream big, but you got to do it early and make sure you don't fall into kind of the trappings of things that will make you have to be responsible, because that's huge.
Yeah, and I think to that point, my mom and dad, so funny enough, they actually they met at Howard. So they both went to Howard, actually.
Okay.
So they met there, and then I was born.
Oh, you're a legacy baby. Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in DC. I spent the first, I think, 6 or 7 months in DC before we moved to the Bay Area my mom was from. But I say that to say that they were young. They were I think 21 and 20, or 22 and 21 maybe, respectively, in terms of just the age. And so because they had to be responsible at a young age, obviously having a kid, I think in a lot of ways, I want to say that I think it may have stunted their growth, or it took them longer to probably do these things. Because especially in them times, if you're young and you have a kid, those dreams go out the window. No, we got to focus on making sure the kid has everything he needs. And so they definitely poured that into me, and I saw that as he progressed, as I got older, he was able to break that. I think that feeling of feeling like you have a duty to be, a father, obviously caretaker, provider, all of those things, and you still have the ability to dream. And so I know that that's something that they instilled in me. And I know that, like you said, I got that young.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I have it, it's set in stone. So now when Zimri is, of age, as he get older, that's something I'm gonna have and give to him from day one. So
yeah. But one of the things that you also had at a very young age is just a community mindset. So currently you're the founder of Neighborhood Diamonds, which is about finding and recognizing, supporting, I guess, diamonds in the rough, which stems from how your father moved through the world. So how did you see this brand evolving beyond the music and into other spaces? And kind of what's the vision for this community that you're building?
Yeah, so to answer that last question, the vision is really to, like you pretty much articulated, it's to really represent, these diamonds in the rough. And the primary way currently, obviously it'll expand, but currently I'm really focused on storytelling. Obviously I started with telling my own story, but it's very, very important for me to tell other stories. And so what I'm working on currently, I just launched my first official Neighborhood Diamonds Fund. So we're looking to raise
Mm,
$5,000 to tell more stories in the form of a docu-series called Neighborhood Diamonds. It'll be about 7 to 8 episodes, and we highlight
okay.
creatives living in LA and going through the journey of pursuing artistry, chasing your dreams, uh,
Mm,
experiencing setbacks and all of those things. And I've done that throughout the years in these different spurts, and it's on YouTube. Like, if anybody listening, you can go to
okay.
Neighborhood Diamonds YouTube channel, especially is exactly how it sounds, and you'll see the work that I've done. But this is the first time that I'm like really focused on it, because I see, like, obviously with the documentary and the feedback, just the power of telling stories. And my belief is that everybody deserves to have their story told. And if you don't tell your own story, or have somebody that's like what I say, have somebody who can tell your story, you got people that's gonna tell it for you, and it's not gonna be in the way that you anticipated. And so me understanding that, and then also having the goal to really just humanize the Black experience through storytelling, I found that that's the best, or my best way to tell. I mean, to uh,
Hmm.
have that mission. And so that's what I'm focused on now. And then separately, we do have me and my business partner, Mai Nicole. She's in the documentary as well. We met
Okay.
at Howard, singer,
Oh
entrepreneur.
yeah, 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 yeah.
We have these monthly creative sessions we call Creative Unblocked. And so we meet at her studio, Fruition Creative Studios in
Oh,
downtown.
that's awesome. Okay.
And the goal of it is to talk to different creatives across all mediums, and kind of work towards talking through those creative blocks you may have. We all have our creative blocks when we're,
Hmm.
pursuing this artistry journey. But it's like, if you can be in community, it makes it feel, less burdensome. And so those are like the main two things. Obviously, music is always gonna be a part of it. Telling people stories. But that's all I want to do, is just give, like, shine light on people that I feel like don't get the recognition, don't get the attention. And I feel
Right.
like in a lot of ways, but instead of me complaining about it, it's like, here's my solution to it. And so that's what Neighborhood Diamonds is. And that's what, I speak for. And that's just something that, I seen it, like you said, my dad, I saw him when I would come to LA for summers and holidays, be a
Hmm.
mentor, be amongst the community, just be in fellowship with his own people, and, hiring them, employing them, or getting employed by people that look like us. And then my mom, she modeled that in the household with family. Like, she's the
Okay.
matriarch of the family, always taking care of people, whether financially, whether just be a sound advice to not just myself, but my sibling, my cousins, other young women. Like, that's just what she did. And so I take both of those approaches, and actually, like, caring about the well-being of people around me and in my
Right.
community. And that's how you get Neighborhood Diamonds, in my opinion. But last thing I'll say is, like, this is the concept, or the idea, has been around for me since 2018, but just now, this year, really, like in the last couple of months, have I finally been able to just focus solely on Neighborhood Diamonds in this way. And so I'm excited to see where it goes from here, but that's where we're at now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, do you consider yourself a diamond in the rough?
Yeah.
And if so, who's helping? Who in your life is kind of helping you polish that diamond?
Uh, Great question. First, I would say my partner. Shout out Andrea. My partner, she's somebody that, she's from Oakland as well, and so we definitely, we met in 2022, but we see eye to eye, and we understand, where we come from, and and she's big on community too. So I think to have her, I think, vision, or just somebody that's a thought partner that can redirect, and she sees like the bigger picture, where I'm like, well, I see the bigger picture, but she sees the details. It's like,
Mm,
okay, I see, maybe if we talk about A to Z, I see Z, and she see A. She see all those letters before, and so
okay. Okay.
by
Yeah. That's
by
important. That's important.
That's very important, right? Especially me as being an independent creative. And so I would say first and foremost, right here in my home is definitely her. Obviously my son just wanted to be the best that I can be for him. But my community, again, like everything that I've been able to do, everything that I've been able to accomplish in my whole life, if I look back at everything that I've been able to do, it's always been under the guise of my community, of people pouring into me and people like taking their time, their energy, their money to say, hey, you know what? There's something special about you, and I'm going to help you out. And so when I think about like diamonds in the rough, right? It's really on a deeper level. It's people who, are doing the work when no one is watching. And that's extremely hard right now in the times that we're living in with social media, gratification,
Facts.
validation. And those are things that I struggle with too. And so my whole thing is like, okay, but who are the people that's still doing the work? Despite if anybody's watching, supporting, and how can I work with them, or how can we collab to shine as bright as we can? So in the hopes is the world will see, but if they don't see, then I think that just reaffirms what I was already saying. And if they do see, it's like, well, here's what it look like when you stand on integrity, you stand on principles, authenticity. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's going to take longer, but it's going to last longer. And so that's really what it is. And then, on a smaller scale, it's like, I think anybody's like all of us, whether we know it or not, we're infatuated with like the diamond of things, like just diamonds in general, like the pressure, like how the process of how a diamond is made, right? It's like you have to be put under fire, under pressure. And my life and story has been one. Like I've been, baptized by fire, I like to say. And so pressure, it only elevates you, or it should only elevate you. I get it that it doesn't for everybody, but that's
right.
Those are the people that I'm trying to identify and service and speak to directly.
Okay, absolutely. And so let's kind of move forward to your actual art. It's art itself. And so, out of the documentary also came an EP called with the title of the same name. And it came directly from your grief. So how different was that creative process compared to like the other works? Because you said you've been in the rap game for a while. So I'd love to hear about that. And then how did those two things make you, heal when it, due to the loss of your dad?
Yeah, so the Big Bryce Son EP that you mentioned, that actually came, I think, 2 months after my dad actually passed away in 2024. So
so that came first.
Yeah, that came first. And I was just, again, capturing, the emotions. Like I told you before, music has always been a safe space. So God and music, whenever those are the first two things that I go to, that I seek refuge in whenever something tragic or something tough happens. So with this, it was like, okay, this is an opportunity to like, again, I think in a lot of ways, like go on that healing journey. And so I was like, all right, I've through my music, I think I've exhibited, showcase vulnerability, not all the time, but in different moments when, life and death happens. And so I was like, this is the first time that I've experienced this level of grief. So instead of like holding on to it, let me share it so that it feels easier to like, manage and navigate. And obviously what better way was than to create the 4-track EP in honor of my dad, but also this was like in honor of everybody who my dad meant something to. So my family, my loved ones, his friends. It was like, here's a body of work that you guys can like always go back to, and will, identify my dad and who he was for everybody. So that was my intent and thought process behind that. And it wasn't until the end of last year where the idea to even do a documentary came about. And it's funny how life works, because like, people, I think when we do interviews or we talk about our journey as artists, we our people get the assumption that it was like a straight line, or that this was like planned out. And it wasn't. I just was going through my grief journey, and I don't know. I love documentaries. Both my mom and dad are documentaries buffs, and so just being around them, I picked it up and I was like, man, this is a way. I know people want to know how I'm feeling with not just my dad, but having a son and him having health issues. Like these are questions that I would get asked, by my friends and my people. But I knew if I could create like a time capsule and an actual long form story, it would hold more weight than maybe me just talking about it or maybe me just posting a video on social media. And so I was like, yeah, and then it was no brainer. I'm gonna call it Big Bryce Son. So a lot of this stuff that I do, it's not really a lot of thought. It's like being decisive. It's like it feels right, execute it, and don't overthink it. And that's always been something that I've been struggling with throughout my life and artistry journey, really. But these both things were like very very decisive, and so that was like my thought process behind doing both of these things. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think that was it.
Gotcha. So, so let's transition to the fact that your fatherhood, your son, and how old is he now?
So he's 13 months now. He turned 1 November 7th.
Oh, 13. Okay, he's still a baby. Yeah.
Baby, still a baby.
What nuggets that you took from your dad that has helped you in fatherhood, and what are some things that you do differently as a result of your relationship with your dad?
Funny, yeah, that's a great question, Keith. I would say in terms of doing
things that you will do differently.
Yeah. I think things that I will do differently, I think is just from a very young age, kind of giving him the tools and the resources to express himself. And that's something that I think my dad and we started to bond over, I think, as I became an adult, but I can't really remember like growing up in terms of like him expressing his feelings, how he may have felt, when he's going through something. I mean, I've only seen him cry, I think. I don't know if I ever seen him cry. Oh yeah, I think I almost seen him cry when my granddad passed away in 2022. But
wow, you said almost.
Yeah, I think almost. So he was choked up. That was the first time. Yeah, so I can't. The fact that I can't remember it is probably not too many examples, but like that part is like being able to be emotionally I won't even say available, because he was available and held space for emotions, but like showcasing that at an early age, like when he's old enough to understand like what I may be experiencing, or even talking to him to process how he feels. That's something my mom definitely gave to me. And so I think when it comes to my father, I would do that, differently, and just be more. No, that's probably the main thing right now. That's probably the main thing. Like all of the things, I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that would be it. Because he's a very, and I am too. And I got that from him. My granddad was too, like stoic. We're very stoic in a lot of ways, but we're intelligent. We can have all these conversations, but we're not just going to necessarily be forthcoming with it. It's something that, when we feel compelled, we'll talk about it. So I think just doing that, but also I think, the other thing I think I definitely would do, and it'll be more probably when he's age appropriate, but I want him to see my flaws, like, see that I'm not just this perfect person. And not that I doubt that my dad was that, but there was a lot of stuff in his upbringing to early adulthood to when he had me to becoming an adult and all of these things that I didn't necessarily know. And the good part about it is when I moved out here, I asked more questions. He gave more information, so it made me get the full scope of just his life outside of me. And I seen that with my mom, obviously, because I was with her every day, so I seen all of her, the full version of her. But I didn't grow up seeing it as with my dad, and I think it was almost there before he passed away. So I wish I would have got more of that, but just that I want him to see me as a full human, flaws and all. And so that's something that I definitely want to do differently now. And then the first question was what am I doing now?
Yes. What lessons have you taken from him that you use in your parenting?
The main one is just presence, right? And not just physically being there, but like all of the things emotionally, physically, spiritually. One of the beautiful things about my partner, she comes from the birth work space. She's a doula, and she's like in the process to become midwife right now,
Mhm.
and just her upbringing is, and two, being a young Black woman coming up in Oakland, her parents really taught her the importance of body autonomy, and how important that is. And so that's something that I didn't necessarily, my parents didn't like teach that to me, like I think like verbatim. And so I learned it, and actually learned it through error, through not knowing how to do it. And so I think that's something that I definitely want to, or I am now, just like his body, his rules, or no means no, like
Mm.
and that's something that I didn't grow up with. I didn't grow up with that practice, or even knowing those things were important. Shit, we talk about, if we're being honest, consent, right? In your relationships, all of these
Yeah.
different things and stuff that I had to learn on the go. And so I want to be able to, like, between his mom and I, to give, I'm giving him that now. And so it's interesting, like being a father and having a kid. It's like you have a chance to, this person comes into this world with a clean slate, per se, like,
Right.
he doesn't have any traumas, not yet, right? He's gonna,
Mhm.
obviously, life is gonna give you that, but to have that clean slate, and then me be able to, like, guide him and understand that he's his own person, I feel like that's the best honor and the best job that you can have. And so I'm like you said, it's still early in the process, but
Right.
I'm just always going to be open to learning and just growing as he grows and gets older.
Gotcha. So and it's what I just thought about just now. So I have 3 adults, kids. So you might even have a question that you weren't able to ask, and I'll kind of stand in and see if I could give some advice.
Yeah.
So is there a question that you've wanted to ask but you didn't get a chance
With my dad,
yeah, just about fatherhood?
hmm. Yeah, I think my question would have been like, no, wait, did I ask him that? Uh, I don't know. I think probably one thing that came to mind that I caught myself or thought of, like, since he's passed away, is like, did he, like, would he have actually, Keith, that's a good question. I don't, because, like, no, I don't think I have any, like, to be honest, like, but I can ask you, obviously, Keith, as somebody that has 3 kids, and I kind of, I talked to you about it off air. I guess, how do you, okay, that'd be the question. Like, when your kids become an adult, right, or a
Mm-hmm.
young adult, how do you how did you learn to still parent, but make space for who they are currently,
Mm.
as they go through these changes, as from kids to young adults to full blown adults? How do you keep that parenting, but more importantly, the friendship intact? Like, how are you able to, like, navigate that, I guess?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things, and it's which I've used, you almost kind of take, and I got this book early on, that I read, like the coach approach, right? So you take the coach approach and realizing that your kids they're stars, right? And they have their own issues, they have their own challenges, and they have their own dreams that they want to accomplish. So you have to really give them maybe both sides of a choice, so they'll feel confident to make the choice that they want to make. Because you can still, even at that age, steer them in one direction, and it could be as simple as a face that you make, or one word, not necessarily, even though you try to be like, oh well, I'm with you, but they may see you as see you give them that look, and they know the looks because it was the look when they were younger, so and they read that, and then you don't really want to you don't want them to lose that light that they have for themselves. I mean, and that's and that can be a challenge, because you want to shield your kids from uh I guess failure,
Yeah.
because we're still humans too, so we internalize that. So you just have to kind of really be grounded yourself, allow your kids to fail, because you understand that you'll always be there for them, and will make space for them if they need it. So if it just doesn't work out what they're doing, but if they know that they can come back and start over, and like you said, feel confident, that makes all the difference.
Damn, like the coach approach, I get that a lot. Like just because growing up playing basketball and sports,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was what I say, because not on like the same level, but it's kind of connected. So I have a younger brother. He's 22 now.
Mhm.
And he's 22 and he's like my mom's son. And then I have my sister, she's 19 on my dad's side. And so my brother, growing up in Oakland, he lived, we obviously live in the same house and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's 22 now, right? And he's went on to like actually he had a partner, they broke up, but he lived on his own, paid his own bills, works, continues to work. He's back at home now, but I find myself like still seeing him as he was as a young kid, and he
Yeah.
was incarcerated for half of his life. He's out now and they have a great relationship. But I spent so much time, I think, being a bigger brother, older brother, of course, but also like feeling like I had to be a father figure because he didn't have that, at those formative years. And so now that he's grown and he's making his own decisions and he's doing good for his age, and what he has a great head on his shoulder, great friend group. I find myself like still seeing him, as he was as 15, 14, and
Right.
you have to tell him everything and X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, I am working, in real time to like soften that side of things, but to be more of like a coach, like you said, to more advise him to talk to, and I can, have dialogue with him in that way. So that makes a lot of sense.
And you can have a lot of influence by virtually just asking them what they think about that situation.
Yeah.
Because if he's a headstrong type cat, and where he's just like makes the decision and doesn't pull back and think, then that's where he may fall into some choices. And then you're like, see, I knew I should have told him what to do. But if you're like, well, how do you think about that? Or how do you feel about that? Then it gives them pause to have them to decide, or at least then if he asks your opinion, then you're just like, okay, I didn't give it to him. He asked first. So there's more of a buy-in.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. And that's something like to that point, that's definitely something that my dad did all the time. Like just asking questions, not like passing judgment or like, trying to tell me per se what to do, but just asking those questions that made me think, I think definitely more thoughtfully about whatever decision I made. And if it didn't work out too, he allowed me to do that as well. So
Yeah.
that answered that question. So that's definitely something I'll pass on to Zimri.
All right, cool. Yeah, I love it. Just two more things.
Yep.
So your latest album is Just Keep Shining.
Yep.
And it kind of represents perseverance and resilience in during their most trying times. And so for all the kind of the people that you're working with, in your community and everything, what were three things you would tell them to make sure they just keep shining? So it could be basically from maybe some of the songs that are in the album. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will.
Yeah.
Or just three things you want them to know to let them know that they're not their circumstances.
Wow, that's a great question. I would say the first thing is to find something to ground yourself, like a foundation. God and Christianity. That's something that I was born into, and has been a guide and just a safe space throughout my whole life. And so that's something I can always seek solace in. I understand that's not for everybody, so just find something that you can find some foundation or some groundedness into. And then my second thing would be kind of like piggybacking off of that is don't make this, whatever your journey or like dreams are, don't make it your everything. I know that sounds like easier said than done, but I love music. I love being an artist, but I love spending time with my family. I love spending time with my friends. Like this is not everything for me. And I think that's something that, I've been fortunate to have. And so that's always kept me grounded and made me like never lose sight of who I am in this space, because, I always had life experiences that are, equally as rewarding as me putting out a song or me getting accolades and success in this music industry. So that's two. And then the third most important thing is like at some point you got to be honest with yourself. I don't care what it is. Like you can lie to everybody else if you want to, but you got to be honest with yourself. And so I think that is the always separate and in that I think the main thing you're talking about just keep shining is acceptance. It is acceptance. It's acceptance of your circumstances. And I'll be honest, it took me a lot of time to accept my father passing away and for whatever reason he passed, all that stuff, like acceptance. That was a hard thing for 2024. And especially with my son and him going through his health challenges, his heart issues, leg issues. It took me a minute to accept it, like, and submit. And I find myself still kind of like maybe going back and forth in my head sometimes, but you know, more than not, I'm accepted. This is what it is. Like these things that happen in my life, these I don't plan these things. Not like I'm planning these things, but my whole thing is funny. It's easy to say what you would do in a circumstance, but what happened when you're in that circumstance? And all that anybody that's like watching me or tuning into what I'm doing is seeing what I am doing in these circumstances. That's it. So just accept whatever those circumstances are. And I think from there you can find that you'll start feeling better. You'll start feeling different, and you'll start feeling like, not, I wouldn't even say invincible, but that you can get through anything. Like that's something I learned about myself in this whole process, that I've been through a lot, and no matter what I'm going to go through, I know that I'll be okay because I've done it. I've done it time and time and time again. Through God's, strength and grace and all those things, it's allowed me to do that. So those are probably the three things that I would say for sure. And that, transcends music, of course, but that's important to me.
That's powerful, especially the acceptance thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going through so much now with just the way our world is. Acceptance that, acceptance that this is happening, but this is not going to be your life, and just keep moving forward.
Just keep moving forward. Just keep shining. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So this is a fun thing. Not the last question, but I wanted to ask you, since you said you're a documentarian, give me 2 of your favorite documentaries that you've ever seen.
Jeez, great question. First thing that came to mind is on Netflix. They have this sports series called Last Chance U. So I'm sure you're
oh yes
you're familiar with it too.
I like the first one. I didn't like the second one so much, but the first one was great.
Oh yeah, I watched all of them. I like the football. So that, the most recent one I think they did football one was Laney, and Coach Beam, who actually unfortunately passed away. Murdered. So Last Chance U, and then the basketball community college at East LA. I love that. I just love the way that was shot, the storytelling, and obviously me playing sports, I relate to all of those kids and new kids just like that. So that whole series is number one. Okay. Number two, I've seen a lot of great documentaries. I'm gonna try to. I just said sports, so let me try to get it out of into more of a different genre or different industry. Man, what was the? Oh no, that probably wasn't the best one. It's been so many. Why can I? It's one. Okay, so there's one actually, which kind of kicked off and was the catalyst for the nonprofit that I was a part of for the last 9 years. I just left actually this past week, but the Black Neighborhood. So they had a PBS documentary called The Vanguard of the Revolution. It was like of the Black Panthers, like one of the histories, like I think it was 30 years maybe, but that was like that set off everything for me. This is the way that that was that came out in 2016, I believe, or 2017. Okay. But watching that, it really set the foundation and the tone. When we say community and artistry, it started from that documentary. So it's called The Vanguard of the Revolution. In honor of the Black Panther Party. It was I know it was on PBS. I'm sure you can find it online somewhere.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
So those two.
Thank you. So before I get to my last question, Bryce, I just want to thank you for being on today. This was truly fantastic. And of course, I guess they can find your work on your music, especially on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple, and all those things. Is there a way to see your documentary? And if so, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah, so the short answer is no. So currently our main focus for the next year, 2 years really, is to get it in front of people
Okay.
via these screenings that I'll put together with other community organizers in different cities,
Okay.
film festivals, which is I'm actively pursuing now. And so right now, if anybody's listening to this, the main way right now is really to watch the trailer. Obviously, Big Bryce Son trailer is on my YouTube channel,
Okay.
which is Bryce Bryce Savoy Savoy 510 on YouTube, and that's my social media handle on every social media platform: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Okay. All right. Great.
So that covers that. And then most importantly, like I said earlier on, the main thing that I'm really focused on is this Neighborhood Diamonds Fund. And so anybody that's listening can go right now to Give Butter, exactly how it sounds, GIVEBUTTER.com/N as in Nancy, H as in hat, neighborhood, and then diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll
And I'll
get
make sure to add it to the show notes as well.
so you can add it to the show notes, and I'd be
Yeah,
greatly
absolutely.
appreciated.
Right.
And then at Neighborhood Diamonds, exactly how it sounds, fully on Instagram. And Bryce Savoy, yeah, I already said that. So that's it, man. It's a pleasure. I know we got more questions, but yeah.
But yeah, the last one is that we always, and this is always a surprise, but we always are taking care of our families, doing our work, our gifts, what God has given us, and things. We don't always think about ourselves. So my question I always like to end with is, how are you feeling as a Black man?
Great question. Damn, that's a great one. how I'm feeling as a Black man. I feel that as a Black man, I'm constantly on a search for freedom, whatever that means or whatever that looks like, or liberation. And so because of that, I think I'm always feeling in a lot of ways, to be honest, angry, because some of the same, if I'm looking at the world itself, I think a lot of the same stuff that has been going on since I was even born, and before you were born, before anybody listening was born, is still going on. And so I'm angry, but I think that I'm more focused on being a part of the change and providing solutions, or leaving the earth better than I did before. And the thought of like knowing that I'm actually doing that makes me feel very seen and very very loved. But yeah, I do feel every day I'm thinking about these same things, and it definitely makes me angry. So, and ultimately too, like I'm still working towards, even like, that's a great question, because it's like I'm still even working towards processing that. And like, me and Andrea, we have this when we check in and we go to couples therapy and all that stuff, we have the feelings wheel, and it kind of shows you different range of emotions. So even that, I'm learning that it's okay to not to be okay. That's what I would say. So I'm feeling like right now I feel great. I feel very like just inspired by this conversation. But ultimately, I feel that time is of the essence, and I want to make sure that I'm doing my part in making this world a better place. So because of that, I feel very like I don't know what would be the word. I'll have to pull out the feelings wheel right now. I just feel very, very like enthusiastic, not necessarily optimistic about the US, the world that we're living in currently, but optimistic about people like yourself and people like, me and whoever else that's in the community having these important conversations. So I feel like definitely motivated and inspired, and have hope. I have hope that things will get better.
Well, I would have to say be inspired, because you are inspiration to not only your family, but the community that you're living in. And then just those diamonds that you're just trying to shine through your work, and just how you're pouring into them. So when things get like, just lean on that, and it will get you through.
Yeah, I agree. And it has been. So I thank you for acknowledging that and reminding me of that too.
Okay, great. Bryce, just hang on just a bit, and we'll close out.
Okay.
Well, thank you. What a truly inspirational message. Like I said, check him out, Bryce Savoy. Check out his music. I mean, he has a great message. And it's perseverance and resilience. We need that more in our world and just individually. And if we can get a message like that and, neighborhood diamonds, that's something that we should lean on. So this is Keith Dent from the Black Men Speak podcast. Peace.